Hello, my name is Jade Conway, and I will be teaching you how to anesthetize and sex your Drosophila. So to start, you're going to take your culture, you're going to tap down a few times to get those flies off the wall. You're going to put that on top of the anesthetizing tube. The anesthetizing tube should be the only tube that you're using fly nap with. So you're going to tap those two tubes down to get the flies in from your culture into the new one. You're going to plug the culture tube first because there are more flies there, and then you're going to use a parafilm. Put your thumb on the side and then slowly pull the parafilm over. This will seal the entire tube. So you're going to put your culture to the side and then get your fly nap. So the fly nap is two things. It comes with a tool with a fuzzy side and the fly nap itself, which is a liquid. You're going to unscrew the fly nap. You're going to take your tool and you're going to put the fuzzy side in. I like to tap it on the side a little bit because it does get pretty messy. Now you're going to take the parafilm and you're going to stab it. And then you're going to move the wire side around to make a bigger hole. Now you're going to want to tap down while the fuzzy side with the anesthesia is inside of the anesthesia tube. And you're going to tap down whenever you see any flies that are reaching close to the top at any point. If the flies do escape, then you will have to kill them. So after your tapping, you're going to notice the flies will stop climbing upwards and they'll kind of just be at the bottom lying down. That means that the anesthesia is working, so you can bend the wire part of the tool and then leave it there while the anesthesia is still inside. This way you can go and get your microscope and set up the rest. Alright, so now you've anesthetized your flies. The next step to come after this is sexing your flies. So you're going to need a dissecting microscope. Those can be found in the shelf right next to the door. Just take one, plug it in, and an index card to put your flies on. So now the sexing. This is very important when it comes to longevity assays as well as genetic studies. This will help show if any type of genetic disease that you're focusing on is sex related. So, for example, Y chromosome related or X chromosome related, or simply to mark which, if it's the mother who has the disease and not the father. There are three main ways that you can identify males and females. I will be going over them in no specific order, but I will be telling you my opinions on them as I show you. So we'll start with the most obvious one. It is the markings on the abdomens. The abdomen is this part of the fly going down from the line. Okay, so the first difference that you can spot is that the females have a very pointy abdomen while the males have a very rounded out abdomen. The females also have multiple stripes while the males have less stripes with a black block at the end. This method is the method that I started off with initially. I really recommend it as a starting point. The only problem that I had after doing it for a while was physically flipping over the flies to see these patterns. But that was about it. It's a very good start. Now, the next method I'm going to tell you is the male sex comb method. So the sex comb is up here, as labeled, and it is this black dot that's on the front legs of the male flies. Females do not have sex combs. It's very important. And this method is what I typically use. I find that in the 24-hour period in which flies are alive, they don't have many colors to show the patterns on their abdomens. So I find that the sex comb method is an easy and quick way to identify males and females when you can't see the markings that well. Okay, and the last method is looking at the external sexual organs, which are here end here. Personally, I have tried to use this method, but I found it to be very difficult. The flies are in cultures that get dirty very easily, and I find it very hard to clean flies, especially if I have a large group that I'm trying to sex. This method, you can see them a lot in the Carolina Care Book packets, but I genuinely do not recommend this method, especially if you're just starting to sex flies. Yeah, that's about it. So after you sex your flies, you're going to want to put them in a new culture. I recommend that this culture be made when you're setting up your microscope. For the sake of time, I wasn't able to sex my flies to show you how to use the index card, but you will be using an index card to put the flies into their new culture. And yeah, so you have to put them on the medium, and then you basically just put a top on, and they should be up and moving by the next day. Okay, now the final and arguably the most important part, you're going to want to label the tube that you just made. So the way that I label how many flies are inside of the culture at the moment. I also label my name and which generation they are, as well as the gender. This way, if you're doing a longevity assay, you can record how many flies have died over the course of the week. You're going to want to put your name, especially if other people are using Drosophila and you don't want to get those cultures mixed up. And the generation is more for generational studies. If you aren't doing something with generation or genetics, then there's no need to put the generation number. You will mark the generations by G1 for the first generation or G2 for the second generation, and so on. Thanks for watching!